Chapter 18, Decreasing Word-by-Word Reading. Word-by-word reading is defined as halting, labored reading at a slow rate with equal emphasis on each word while reading orally. Intervention may be needed if the student pauses after each word and does not allow the words to flow as they would in smooth or fluent oral reading.
Okay, Brandy, I'm going to have you read this passage and continue reading until I stop you. Okay. Do I have to read this idle? Yes. Oh, okay. Little bear's friend. He could hear the wind sing, and he could feel the wind on his fur, on his eyes, on his little nose. Okay. Do I have to read this idle? Yes. Oh, okay. Little bear's friend. He could hear the wind sing, and he could feel the wind on his fur, on his eyes, on his little nose. Okay, now stop there, Brandy.
From Brandy's passage, we could tell her reading was very choppy. Now we are going to lower the difficulty reading level and see if that helps Brandy out. Let's take a look.
Okay, we're going to read a new story now, Brandy. Start with the title. Frog feels sick. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into bed." And Frog feels sick. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into bed and rest." Okay, I'm going to stop there.
From this reading, we can tell that lowering the reading level helps Brandy read more fluently. Now let's look at another strategy. If the student asks for help on more than 10% of the words in the material, then it is still too difficult and it should be replaced. We are going to try giving Brandy time to silently read the material before orally reading it back to Ms. Kayla.
Okay, I want you to read this silently to yourself first, and then I'm going to have you read it to me. So read through it, and when you're ready, you can begin. Okay. Okay, are you ready, Miss Kayla? I'm ready. Okay. Be careful. It was a fine summer day, and after breakfast, Francis said, I'm going to play with Velma. Be careful, said Mother. Why do I have to be careful, said Francis. Which time was that, said Francis. That was the time you played catch with Velma's new boomerang, said Mom. Velma did all the throwing, and you came home with lumps on your head. I remember that time now, said Francis. And do you remember the other time last winter, said Mom. I remember that time too, said Eyes on the Pond. Elma wanted to go skating, and she told me to try the ice first. Good job, thank you.
From the different readings and different strategies, we have noticed a change in Brandy's fluency reading with less word-by-word reading happening. She's becoming a more fluent reader with the help of different strategies. Now let's take a look at some different strategies.
Some different strategies that we found helpful are not expecting students to read material above their meaning vocab levels. Generally use easy materials and encourage students to read in great quantity. Another strategy is if the student seems unaware of their word-by-word reading, it is often helpful to audio record the student while they're reading orally, then play back the recording so they become aware of the specific problem. If necessary, we can take time to demonstrate both inappropriate word-by-word and fluency reading.
Going off what Brandy just said, we also can have the students write their own story and record reading them aloud, along with reading a less familiar story and discussing with the students the difference in the reading. Strategy I would suggest using in your classroom with your students would to always encourage them to read often and in great quantities.
A great way for students to practice oral reading would be for them to read into an audio recorder. As a teacher, we can set up a recording studio in our room that has an audio recorder, a microphone, and a CD for the students. With this studio, students are able to record themselves, play back the audio, and follow or read along with themselves. The teachers can then go back and listen to the students' recorded reading and make notes. Another great strategy would be to allow students to choose stories they feel are exciting and then let them read their selections out loud. These are just a few of the great strategies that we found in our book. There are many more out that you can go and find yourselves.
Hey, this is chapter 19.
Limiting incorrect phrasing. Limiting incorrect phrasing is defined as not choosing or grouping appropriate words of groups of words while reading orally. Intervention may be needed if the student fails to read fluently, that is, in natural phrasing or linguistic units. She may fail to take a breath at the proper place and will often ignore punctuation, especially commas.
Okay, Jessica, can you read this conversation for me? You can just start right here at come.
Come and sit with me. This will be so romantic. You, me, the moon rising over the hills.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a thing called dramatizing the conversation. Do you know what that means? We're going to make it really dramatic and over the top of a conversation, okay? So can you start right here and there and do this really dramatic?
There you are.
Good job. All right, we'll mix it down to this one because that's not actual real words.
Okay.
So right there.
No, hardly. Why are you out here with that?
With him. I'm with him, Kathy.
Whatever. As
know a zombie.
It's okay.
What Jessica and I just demonstrated was an example of a way to help a student limit incorrect phrasing. As you can tell, Jessica was reading word by word really choppily, and she wasn't phrasing her words correctly. So we did have students read and dramatize conversations. Okay, Jessica, so now you're going to draw a word from each one of the boxes in front of you.
There's so many boxes.
Okay, now can you read me the words? Can you read me the words that you drew?
Teacher, in chair.
Okay, so now let's put them together so that we can make a phrase. Can we make a type of sentence out of them?
I think so.
Okay, so what sentence did you just make for me?
The teacher in a chair.
Good job. Okay, can you read it as one solid sentence instead of word by word?
The teacher in a chair.
Good job. All right.
Okay, so what I just did was drawing for phrases, and there's boxes in front of the student, and they will pick a preposition from each box, and then they'll say the words that they got from each box, and then they'll make a sentence out of it and say it.
Another way to the book that we read that you can extend this activity is have the students write the phrases. So then they also get practice writing it and seeing it, and they can read it that way.
These are some recommendations that you can use for your students. If the cause is lack of sight word knowledge, build students' sight word vocabulary.
Hi. Okay, so another recommendation to assist your students would be to demonstrate proper phrasing to the class.
Another recommendation is to use a projector to display a paragraph without punctuation, and then as a class fill in the correct punctuations together.
Yeah, another thing you can do is prepare a paragraph with no punctuation marks. Then you can have a student read it and try and place their own punctuation in it. And then you can read it together with the student and put in punctuation marks as they think they can be read.
And another one would be to dictate simple paragraphs. Have a student provide the punctuation in part by listening to your vocal inflections.
Another way you can help your students is to photocopy songs and then have them read the lyrics without the music.
Another one would be to provide choral reading with several readers who phrase properly.
Have students read basic sight word sentences.
Okay, so another idea we have is a game called Bouncing for Words, where each student is given one phrase card and she or he stands behind a chair and places a card face up on a seat, and the leader is one of your students, bounces the ball to the first player. As the student catches the ball, she says the phrase, and if the student says it correctly, then she picks up the card. If they miss the phrase, the card remains on the chair. The game continues until all students have their turn at the phrases. At the end of the game, players exchange card and they continue. Students who cannot say the phrase when caught the ball is told the phrase and then keeps the phrase card until they exchange the phrases at the end of the game.
Thanks.
For watching. Well,
Where did we go?
I'll just zoom out and then you talk and then I'll zoom back in and we'll just cut things.
So just the defined?
So you'll do, this is chapter, whatever chapter it is. Hold on.
19.
Frozen.
So you're recording this as not choosing or grouping appropriate. Okay.
Run out there. Don't move those, I'll kill you.
Okay.
There's never a way to try that.
You ready?
Okay.
I'll just say, hey, this is chapter 19, and one of you say the correct phrasing, and then it'll go right into your part.
Okay, let me see.
Correct phrasing.
Okay.
Okay, go. Hey, this is chapter 19.
Limiting word to it.
Incorrect phrasing.